onto mute. I'm just checking whether the town clerk and the deputy town clerk and dean are present, are they?
Click on there.
Sorry? Is the town clerk, the deputy town clerk and dean present?
Everything's gone now. Clicked on.
I'm present.
No, Barbara, please don't talk.
You need to unmute Eileen.
Sorry?
Excuse me. Oh, come on, off mute.
Right. Eileen, is the town clerk with you? Or not with you, but is he online? Eileen.
You've got myself and Dean. I have no idea about the town clerk. I'm sorry. Until he actually tries to join, there's nothing I can do. I'm afraid you're stuck with me.
Okay. Well, as it's gone 7 o'clock, everybody who's online, would you turn your mics to mute, please? And only speak. As I'm a guest and I haven't got the comment facility, if you wish to speak on a particular item, if you'd say, please, can I speak, and say who you are, I'll write your name down and call you out in turn. Welcome to today's meeting of Annual Council. For those of you watching via the Council's YouTube stream, if you encounter any issues with the live feed, please follow the instructions below the video. I would ask participants, when you are not speaking, to please mute your microphone. This minimises background noise and will help everyone in listening to the proceedings. Microphones must only be used if the participant has been granted permission to speak by the chair. On the Teams bar, you can raise your hand if you wish to speak. I haven't got that facility. I would make a note and go back to once the person speaking is finished. Would everyone please ensure that their mobile phones are switched to silent and they are not used to make or receive phone calls whilst the meeting is in progress. Please also refrain from checking emails or conducting other business and ensure that you are in a quiet room free from distractions for the duration of the meeting. Please note this is being live streamed for members of the public. The meeting will also be recorded and will subsequently be broadcast on the internet. The live streaming and recording of a meeting will immediately cease from the point that the press and public are excluded. Streaming and recording of exempt items are prohibited. We now move on to the agenda. Agenda item 1. Ratification to retain the council structure until May 2021. Town clerk. Who's not present.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay.
Yes,
town
I'm
clerk.
here.
Right.
What I need is a proposal and a seconder that we ratify the decision we made at a members' briefing to retain the council structure as we already have it. The committees stay the same, the chairmanships and vice chairmanships stay the same, and also I think we should be using section 111 to get the delegated powers to use them when we need them. That is between yourself and me when we need to make a decision, and then we report back to the council whenever we need to do it, because unless we're going to have council meetings on a regular basis, which we can do now, that power, we've not really used it very much, but that is an alternative. But I certainly think we should ratify the existing arrangements.
Right, so the proposition, hold on a moment. So the proposition is to ratification to retain the council structure until May 2021. Do I have a proposer?
Yes, I'll propose it.
And who's the name? Oh,
Jane Hetherington.
is there a seconder?
Barbara Young. Seconder.
Who's that?
Barbara Young.
Okay, thank you, Barbara Young. So proposed and seconded. Do we wish to debate this particular agenda item? Silence prevails. Is there anyone against this particular proposal?
Sorry, Chairman, I was just trying to unmute my microphone.
Right, Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. This is just a thank you to everybody who has held posts for more than a year now, and for them being prepared to continue to hold them. And notable thanks to Raushan, who's been doing a sterling job getting around the area talking about Ramsgate. So if we could just record our thanks as a council to them, that would be great.
Okay. Thank you very much. As there's nobody in the opposition, that is proposed, seconded and passed. Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, apologies. Are there apologies? I understand Councillor Alban has sent his apologies. And is there any other apologies? Deputy Town Clerk.
Councillor Knight.
Councillor Knight. Any other apologies? Silence is golden. Okay, we move on to agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Are there declarations of interest? Again, silence. Move on to question agenda item 4, questions from the public. I believe we have received 3 questions from the public, and I move to the Deputy Town Clerk to read them out in order, and the Town Clerk to actually respond.
Thank you, Chairman. The first question is from Mr. Terence Huckstep, and I quote, "I was appalled watching the meeting on the 21st when you voted to give money towards a judicial review. I would like to know how this represents the views of the majority of residents of Ramsgate and why such an amount of money can be squandered from public funds without recourse to the public. At the time of writing, there are 759 donations to the JD Fund. However, in a separate petition against the JD and critical of RTC, the signatories stand at 1,805 and rising. There is clearly more favour for the airport than against. If councillors wish to contribute to the JD, then it should be personal and not with the public's money." And that ends. Over to the Town Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My answers to this are that we have a representative democracy, that if the public don't approve of your actions, they have the right to remove this council at the next elections in 2023. There are 31,805 electors. Even if this petition is as it is, and we take it on face value, 1,805, that's less than 5% of the population. Comparing it to the donations to the judicial review, I think there's apples and pears. Somebody has already sent me an email asking why we haven't had a plebiscite or a referendum. I'd like to point out to everybody, if we were to do that, it would cost us probably in the region of £25,000 to £30,000. I mean, bearing in mind the last election costs were around about £25,000, in order to spend maybe £10,000 at the most. So it's not really a viable option. And what I would say to Mr. Huxley is that the representative democracy system fails in many ways until you consider the alternative. And I think that answers his question fully.
Okay, Deputy Town Clerk, next question, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Question 2 from Kathy Stevens. My question concerns the meeting held last week and the resolution to give 5,000 and up to 10,000 to help fund a private judicial review. I would like to ask why there were no declarations of interest recorded when there were councillors who are donating personally to this fund. Surely those councillors who have a personal interest in funding the JR should not have taken part in either the meeting or the vote. And that question ends. Thank you, Town Clerk.
My answer to this one is that all the council is already in some ways predetermined. You had a majority of the council who has actually fought their last election on against Manston sort of agenda, and you have other councillors who have a pro-Manston agenda. So you are all predetermined. So you all have a declaration of interest in that sense. Bearing in mind you all have it and your positions are very clear, I really don't think it makes any difference. If he's getting mixed up with pecuniary interest, for instance, if one of you has a company or a financial interest in either RSP or some company that would benefit if RSP doesn't get their DCO, or has got their DCO but it is removed from them, that would be a pecuniary interest. But it's a bit like we have the RNLI as a tenant downstairs. Now, I give money to the RNLI, I expect many councillors do. It doesn't give you an interest. You are a supporter possibly, but that's as far as it goes. So I would say that Cathy Stevens has a point, but I don't think it's a pecuniary interest that would require any of the councillors to declare an interest and end the vote. And also, we don't know who has funded the judicial review. There are supposed to be 759 donations. We don't know where they came from, and we won't know because of GDPR. And nobody should be trying to find out. And I hope nobody in the council would do anything like that, because it would bring the council into disrepute. And I'm sure that wouldn't happen. So, as far as that's concerned, I think that's answered the question.
Chairman, may I come in, please, Councillor Piper?
Yes, Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, Mr. Town Clerk, I have to take issue with your generalisation that all councillors are already predetermined. I don't want to say anything stronger than that. That is absolutely palpable nonsense, because we hadn't had the debate. And if what you're suggesting is correct, there would be no council debates. People would simply be allocated a vote based on their political position or a particular campaign that they may have fought. So I disagree with your answer, I'm afraid. I think pecuniary interest or otherwise, interests should have been declared. Some of the councillors during the course of the meeting said they had previously given money. Now that is a predetermined position, whereas my position, waiting for a debate, was not. So I do take issue with that, and I think we need to have a look at why there were no declarations of interest and what the standing orders or constitution, whatever we're going to call them, have to say about such a thing. If people have contributed financially to something, there is a pecuniary interest. There is a non-pecuniary interest if they stand to benefit from the action they take, but not financially. So thank you for allowing me to say that, Chair, but I fundamentally disagree with the Town Clerk's response.
I think you misunderstand pecuniary interest. Pecuniary interest is where a councillor has he or herself would benefit personally, but isn't available to anybody else. The general public interest, which may or may not be for the Manston to be open or not open, is divided amongst the entire electorate of 31,805, and none of the councillors have shown anything any different to that. So I think it would be difficult to prove. It's a matter of how you feel that the that's my understanding of the law, and it has to be an actual financial benefit, and I don't think you can show that in this particular case.
Okay, third question, Deputy Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. Question 3 is from Sheila Adams. I feel that to spend Town Council funds on a judicial review on the opening of Manston Airport is a misappropriation of public money. If you do not agree with the opening of Manston as an airport for whatever reason, then you should use your own money. I find the fact that you can use council funds to satisfy your own whims incredible, and I strongly object. Please note this email at your next council meeting. Town Clerk.
Well, that's not a question, is it? That's a statement.
Yeah.
I just say we note the actual receipt of the actual statement.
Thank you, Chairman.
We go on to agenda item 5, sorry, minutes of a council meeting. To receive minutes of the council meeting to the 5th of February 2020. Can I have a proposer, please? I'll propose it from the chair. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it, Chair. David.
Seconded by Councillor Green. Is there any opposition? That's passed. Minutes of the 12th of February 2020. Is there a proposer?
I'll propose it, Jane Hetherington.
Jane Hetherington. I'll second it from the chair. minutes of the 21st of July 2020. I propose from the chair. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it. Jane Hetherington.
Jane Hetherington seconds. So
Chair,
although
can I just ask a question about the minutes for the 21st of July, please, Chair?
certainly.
I'm unable to see the details of the agenda. The computer won't open them. So this may have already been changed. But on the video of the 21st of July, the town clerk records 12 votes for, 3 against and 1 abstention. Clearly, there were only 11 votes for. If it hasn't been changed, could it be, please?
That's
Thank you.
correct. That is correct. It's 11-3-1. Those are the figures. That is noted, and if they need to be altered, will be altered. Thank you. Agenda item 6. Governance and Audit Return Statements 2019-2020. Deputy Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. I have completed the annual return for financial year 2019-20. I now need to ask you to resolve 3 resolutions for me. The first one is the annual return from 2018-19, the External Auditors Report and Certificate. I think Dean will be able to put that up for you. The internal auditor has directed me to ensure that you saw this document. It doesn't appear on the screen, which is marked 6A, which is it's quite a blank form. Basically, the external auditor was happy with the way we did the accounts for 18-19. There were no other matters recorded that would go against what we had done, so that's absolutely fine. But they did make a note that we hadn't looked at the risk management for that year. So I have now noted that, and I can assure you that for 2019-20, we have looked at the risk management arrangements as of 24th of April 2019. So what I'm asking for the Part A of this report is that Council resolves that it has received and notes the External Auditor Report and Certificate 2018-19, and then we can move on to last financial year. Thank you, Chairman.
Right, I propose annual return 2018-19. Can I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Councillor Green. Anybody object? Silence is golden. That's accepted. We move on. Back to you.
Thank
Deputy
you.
Town Clerk. Wait
Thank
a minute.
you.
We've got I know what Dean's showing us now.
Dean, could you show us the internal auditors report, please? If you go back. Sorry, one down, the next one down. So, members, the internal auditor came along on the 7th of July. He found that all accounts are in order. We are doing everything correctly. He states that I did not find anything major in my financial audit report, and that I found the record keeping to be of a good standard and the Town Council's approach to the management of risk to be sound. He did mention what you have just agreed, and I've noted that's all done now. He did raise how we actually come to, or we advised TDC on our precept, but we can look at that part of his report when we come to set the precept next time. It's just a matter of the way we word it when we send it to TDC. It's not an issue at all. He has discovered that the insurance premium tax has been accounted as VAT. That is personally to me, I have done that incorrectly, and that will be amended by the electronic provider, so that's no problem there. The document in front of you is document 6B, which is our annual governance statement. Basically, this document, we put, yes, we've done this, that and the other to maintain the accounts as they should be, with respect to how the external auditor wishes us to do that. that document is in front of you. I need, everything is yes, we haven't got anything that we are not doing on that document. And my request to Council is that Council resolves, this Council certifies that the statements made in Section 1 of the annual return are a true record of the system of governance at Ramsgate Town Council. Thank you. Over to you, Chairman.
I propose that from the Chair. Is there a seconder?
Second that, Chair.
Councillor Green. Is there any opposition to the annual governance statement? Silence is golden. That's passed. Deputy Town Clerk.
Thank you. Dean, I'm now on 6B, which is all the figures, which is there. I have to show Council that I've signed this document. The signature is not on that document that you see on the screen, but I have it here and my signature is on there. I have to make sure that you have seen that I've signed it, and then after you've agreed it, the chairman can come along tomorrow or Friday and put his signature on there as well. What you will see on there, if you can see it, in box 6, I've had to restate the year to March 2019. I had originally put in there 506,072, that's it, Dean, and I've restated that as 503,720. That was a VAT anomaly, basically. So I have restated that. That is what I have to put on the form for the external auditor. And of course, box 7 has to be adjusted accordingly. So that is the difference, and I will advise the external auditor of that. There is no issue. The internal auditor is happy with that. So that document will go to external auditor as part of the pack that I have to send them, and I will require a minute reference on there and a signature of the Chairman of Council. So what I'm asking for this part of the document is that Council resolves, this Council certifies that corrective action has been taken with regards to the except for matters as detailed in 1819 annual return external auditor report. There were no accepted, so we're fine. And this Council certifies that the accounting statements made in Section 2 of the annual return, which is what you're looking at the moment, for 2019-20 are a true and fair record of the financial position of Council. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Yes, I have a hard copy of this in front of me. I have checked it in the last couple of days, and I can assure you that it is correct. And therefore, I'm proposing the annual account statements. I'm proposing they are correct. Is there a seconder?
Councillor Young, second.
Okay, seconder. Is there anyone in opposition? Silence is golden. They're accepted. I will come along tomorrow to sign them.
Thank you, Chairman.
Is that finished, section 6?
Sorry, we have finished with item 6. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. Apologies, Chairman. We have 6D. We have the report on the current expenditure and income. Yes, I do apologise that I have another little bit to give you. Dean, this is 6D, which is the accounts. This is a report you will get quarterly. It's taking you to the 30th of June and is showing you the account balances, what is in reserves. In reserves, you will note that Custom House Sinking Fund, I have now updated that because we add to that each year through our budget. So that is a balance which is correct. And all the others are where we've chipped away at them, like for the Radford bequest, neighbourhood plan, etc. Those are your reserves and what it's made up of. For the income to 30th of June, we have received half the precept. Income from Custom House is greatly reduced due to COVID-19. The tenants were given 3 months grace with their rent to try and assist them. That's the RNLI and the Thai restaurant. The restaurant has started paying as from July, and he's absolutely delighted that we helped him. Allotments is a low income due to the allotment year being over 2 financial years, but this will pick up next quarter when the tenants start paying their invoices, which will be going out, I believe, August, September time. We have no income from the VIC. This has been closed due to COVID-19, understandably. Hope to possibly reopen September. We have lost volunteers. We have 2 that are definitely coming back, 4 possibles, and we have also had our volunteer coordinator resign, so we need to look at that role and get it advertised. The town clerk's thinking about that one. The restricted grant funding income we have received from KCC member grants and a kind donation towards the food bank from Mr. I can't remember his name, sorry, Mr. Franklin donated £400 very kindly in 100 lumps as we went through lockdown.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes, I sent him a letter every time. So yeah, he was pleased to help. The expenditure, the civic budget is completely untouched due to COVID-19. There is no mayoral activity throughout the St. Paul's. There's nothing happening. The town improvements budget, we've had very low expenditure due to COVID-19 and the fact that the technicians have been concentrating throughout lockdown on assisting with the food banks. They were doing part of their usual work, but obviously not all of it, and usual work is now being undertaken. Who's laughing? The restricted grants funding that we have spent has been totally used for food bank assistance. This does not include all of the technician wage costs, but does include fuel used for food collection and invoices paid for food. Thank you, members. I'm asking you to note the report, please.
That's noted. Any comment? Can
I just say something? The Custom House Sinking Fund will change because we are actually spending some of it in order to paint the exterior woodwork and sort out some other bits and pieces there. So that will drop at the next time the assistant deputy town clerk puts in a return.
Okay, that's good. That's what it's for. I see the scaffolding's gone up today at the front of the Custom House.
Yes, Chairman. The Custom House has got a very tidy scaffolding around it. It is very nicely done. Thank you.
Okay. Comment, members?
Could I say something, Chair?
Councillor Green.
Just to thank Eileen, really, to get us through the audit unscathed, as it were, is a real achievement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green.
Yes, I mirror that as Chair of F&GP. Well done. Any other members wish to comment?
Peter, may I say something? Roshana.
Councillor Roshan.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you to Ramsgate Town Council and the technicians for working so hard during the lockdown with Food Bank, collecting foods and delivering. And it's wonderful that we as a council came together, supporting the community. So it's well done to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, Roshan, thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? I'll close it down. Agenda item 7, council allowances. Receive verbal report and decide on policy on this matter. Town clerk.
Every year we have this. We need to renew whether what we want to do with the council allowances. Councillors are allowed, in theory, £500 each, and what previous councils have done, including this one last year, was to allocate it to a ward grants fund for projects within their own ward or for public interest areas within their own ward. What I really want the council to do is decide whether they want to keep the ward grant system, or whether you want to receive these allowances to councillors for expenses.
I propose that we carry on as a ward grant. Is there a seconder?
I second it.
Is there anyone who wishes to debate this or amend this?
Councillor Piper, could I comment, please?
Certainly, Councillor Piper.
I don't need an immediate answer, but normally there's a definitive period beyond which, if you haven't spent it, it goes back into the general fund. But obviously COVID-19 has restricted a lot of activities that we may have given money to. Can we accept that all monies that each councillor still has in their pot remain in their pot till 2021?
That won't apply to 2023, councillor. It rolls over each year, until you get to the end of this council period, 2023. Then any unspent money then goes back into the council pot. So you have another 3 years.
Thank you very much. Perhaps I could use this opportunity to ask Eileen to email me the contents of mine and Councillor Linda Piper's piggy bank. Thank you.
Yes, I'll do that tomorrow, Councillor.
Chair, could I say something?
Councillor Green?
Apparently the council does not have a bank card, which makes it quite involved if a councillor wishes to give money to an individual, which they're entitled to do, but we have to go through all the rigmarole of getting a cheque to them. I wonder if there's any reason why the council doesn't have a bank card.
Deputy Town Clerk?
I can't answer that one. Could you, Town Clerk can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's historic, really. When I first came here, the old Charter Trustees did have a card, and they had a bit of a problem with it. If you, I don't know whether anybody was here. Councillor Green was here then, and it was decided that we would do away with it. But it's never really, we've never really done it again. It would be handy to have a council card that we could buy the odd few bits and pieces and pay some of these things up to a certain amount. But really, that's really up to yourselves. If you propose now that that's what you want to do, I'll ask the Deputy Town Clerk to arrange one. We'll either set up a separate bank account, or better still, go through the Unity Trust Bank, which they can arrange a card for us. It will require the other signatories to approve that as well.
Members, what do you want to do?
Get a card. That's a good idea.
Well done, one at a time.
Chair, could I propose what the clerk just said we should propose, up to a limit of £300?
Is there a second?
No, seconded. Roshan.
Seconded by Councillor Lara. Anybody in opposition to that particular proposal?
Could I speak, Chair?
Who is
It's Becky. It's Councillor Wing. I mean, I work for Charlton Athletic. I don't have access to Charlton's card, which I'm grateful for. But constantly in our email loops is who's had the card and spent this. So there can be issues of governance over the use of a card, which needs looking at. And I personally think the limit of 300 is quite hefty. I also think that maybe we need to make public where our money's gone. I mean, mine's gone on the beds in the town centre, but it would be quite interesting to see what other things councillors are spending taxpayers' money on. Does it ever get made public? So two issues there. You know, we've got to look at the governance of the card, because it does create issues at Charlton with the use of a card, and I avoid it. And also maybe making public what we're spending our money on, or the taxpayers' money on.
Town Clerk.
If the card was approved, then it would only be used either by me or the Deputy Town Clerk, and as she is the financial officer of the council, you know, it's like everything else. There would be an audit trail for it all anyway, and we would certainly, obviously, it would be recorded in returns to yourselves, along with anything else. In terms of the at what these monies are spent on, we do send out a return over £500 on every year already. That this year's one won't go out until we get the return back from our external auditor, but it does describe it all. But there would be no reason, in theory, why we wouldn't make a declaration every year of what the ward grant fund has been spent on. We could do that if that was the will of the council.
May I say something, please?
Councillor Laura.
Yes, I was just thinking that, so end of the year, why don't we publicly report that, which councillor used for what reason? So I think that should be published end of the year, every year. Thank you.
At the end of the fiscal year.
The end of fiscal years, yes. I'm echoing on Councillor Wing, actually. Yeah, she's right.
Barbara, can I ask a question?
Yes. Whoever you are, who are you?
Barbara.
Okay, Councillor Young.
Yes. So how does this card work? Do individuals take it and use it? I prefer the method of the cheque being sent out.
Town clerk.
I think the deputy town clerk was about to say something, but if that will help. It would be there would only be two persons at most who would be able to use it. That would be either me or the deputy town clerk. There would be we wouldn't be handing it to the technicians or other staff members, or for that matter, councillors. The idea of any expenditure, that is you set the decisions and we implement it, so it's required that we too would actually do it. So it would be things, for instance, if the technicians wanted to know, I don't know, a piece of kit that we could get from a local shop, I could go in there with a card and buy it rather than having to hand over checks, because there's a lot of shops and facilities now, especially now with COVID-19, they're very, very reluctant to accept things like checks or cash or anything else. They prefer that you deal with it electronically and do it that way. So there is a side benefit to it all. And of course it does have, there will be an account at the bank which we would actually produce a monthly account which we could actually produce and send to all councillors as a matter of course. That would be a problem.
Does that satisfy you, Councillor Young?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Councillor Piper.
Councillor Piper.
Thank you. It might just be me, but to be honest, I'm struggling to see what this has got to do with councillors' allowances. It sounds as though from the discussion that's taken place, this is more of a convenience item for the example that the town clerk's just given if something was needed more locally. I fail to see how a card is actually going to make any difference to the way I, as a councillor, approach the deputy town clerk to arrange for a cheque to be sent to a certain individual or an organisation for something being done. And my personal view is, when the recipients receive something in their hands, like a cheque, there's a presence there to what they've been given, rather than just a text message or a phone call that says this has been transferred into your bank. Personally, I'd like to leave it the way it is. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Councillor Crittenden, question, please.
Councillor Crittenden.
I wanted to just clarify. We seem to have two different things going on here. Was the suggestion that it's published what we spend our allowance on? Did I hear that as correctly? That is the suggestion that's been made, that we publicise that what we spend our allowance on.
Yes.
Okay. Do we get a chance to? I personally would prefer not to.
Okay.
It's a personal allowance, rather than money, if you see what I mean.
I understand. Yes.
I think.
Right. So we have two issues here. One about the issue, the card, whether or not those whom wish their allowance to be used to good causes should be by card or by cheque. So those in favour of it being by card, is there opposition to it? Can you turn your mic on, please, Councillor Piper? I see you speaking, but I can't hear you.
Yes, opposition from me.
Opposition from me as well.
Who's me?
Right, Councillor Linda Piper, I'm against the card.
Right, Councillor Linda Piper against, Councillor Stuart Piper against, Councillor Peter Campbell against.
Pat Makinson against.
Councillor Barbara Young against.
Councillor Wing is against if we're not producing records. So if it's a secret payment, then we know.
No, it's nothing to do with secret payments.
No,
there will be.
It fits in with you know, if I'm okay with the card because I think it will be beneficial, but if we then don't produce accounts of what that money's been spent on, then I'm against it. So the two things are linked for me. Sorry.
My understanding is whether it be by cheque or by card, it will be published publicly. So this is simply about the ability to pay your allowance to the recipient by card or by cheque.
Pat Makinson, I'm against the card.
Councillor Makinson is against.
Councillor Wing is against.
Councillor Wing is against. Who else?
Councillor Crittenden, no objection.
Councillor, so you're for?
I'm happy for it to be either cheque or card.
Right. It doesn't mean, can I just say, that if you wish your allowance to be paid to your recipient by a cheque, that cheque can still be raised. It doesn't exclude that option. It means there is an alternative option to pay it by card instead of by cheque.
Check, please.
Councillor Ara?
Check.
Yes, but are you against the option of councillors using a card?
No, I'm not against it.
Right, so you're not against the card being used. This is the point. It's about each individual member. Let's get this straight. Each individual member can, at the moment, only use cheque system. If you wish, you can adopt two systems. A, by a card to the recipient you wish to give your allowance to, or, if you wish, a cheque. If a card is introduced, it doesn't preclude a cheque. It gives you another option to use either a card or a cheque. Is anybody opposed to using two systems?
Yes, Councillor Huxley. I would prefer cheques. Thanks.
But
I'm against the card.
Cheques, but do you wish to exclude card?
Chair.
For those members who wish to use a card, you do. Right.
Chair.
Yeah.
Chair.
Councillor Green.
I think this is getting confused.
Of course it is.
We have a problem with this council at the moment, that if, say, our technicians need something from a local...
No, Councillor Green.
There's a lot of feedback. Chair.
Please, Councillor Green, please. This is about councillor allowances. This is not about the process of a card being used to pay the necessary outgoings of the council. This agenda item is about, as I say, councillor allowances. That's agenda item 7, and that's what we're talking on.
Then I withdraw my motion, Chair.
Right. So what will happen is if on the next council meeting, if I and the chairs of the councils feel it's sufficient to introduce a card system for the town clerk and the deputy town clerk to pay bills, we will introduce a separate agenda item. Yes? At the moment, yes, that your councillor allowances will only now be paid, available to be paid by cheque, as Councillor Green has withdrawn his initial proposition. Okay, members?
Yes.
No opposition. Right. We move on to agenda. So the council allowance system that has prevailed for the last few years remains the same. That it's not a personal allowance that goes to individual members. It's for the members to actually allocate out to good causes, not necessarily either within their own ward, but within the responsibility and purview of Ramsgate Town Council. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, we move on to agenda item 8. Ramsgate Fund, Deputy Town Council, Deputy Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. I'm so popular tonight. For the benefit of the public viewing this meeting, the Ramsgate Fund is a fund set up very close to the beginning of Ramsgate Town Council itself. The fund allocates funding to organisations and groups with the following guidelines. It must benefit the residents of Ramsgate. It must be open to all in the catchment area. Long-term benefit for the people of Ramsgate. It cannot be used in regards to Kent County Council or Thanet District Council to replace lost funding. Match funding may be required. It should not be used for revenue, so it is literally for capital items. So it is something that you would purchase, you would buy a one-off. The funds provided must be accounted to the Town Council, so within 6 months of receiving your grant, you would contact the Town Council with a returns form listing how you spent it. If you wanted to apply more than once in one financial year, you're not able to. It is literally one application. But if there are funds remaining at the end of the financial year, it is possible that you could submit one, but we would advise you if you have tried to put into applications. The funds in reserve for 2021 is 35,000, and the maximum that any group can apply for is 10% of that fund, or 3,500. That's a short detail of what the fund is about. I've got 4 applications for you. They are within this report, but I do have the applications if you needed to see them. Dean is prepared for that. The first application is RF1, so it's the very first one in this year, from the Royal Harbour of Ramsgate 200. They have a whole project of 150,000, which is a festival planned for September 2021 in celebration of 200 years of Ramsgate as a Royal Harbour. Council is already supporting the event and has set aside over the past 3 years £15,000, so that's sitting in the pot ready for their event. They are asking now for the maximum award of 3,500, and it's to fund the publishing of a souvenir harbour book to accompany the main project. The work involved in the production of the book has been given at no charge by the author and illustrator, and the cost for printing an initial print run they have detailed: 500 copies at just over £1,700, 1,000 copies £2,036, and 2,000 copies at £2,692. This is from Lanes the Printers, which is the people that they want to use because they can fulfil what they want. I have been advised that the costs may increase due to COVID-19, and that is why they could be granted the maximum award. There's only one quote, as I've said, because Lanes can actually fulfil what they need. And following the initial print run, it's proposed that 200 hardback copies will be printed and will be competition prizes, and also given to every Ramsgate school and the library as part of the project legacy. Any profit from the project, the event and the book sales will be donated to Ramsgate RLI and the Sea Cadets. Council to decide, please. Thank you.
Members, your views, please. Someone must have a view.
Chair.
Councillor Green?
I'm torn, Chair, between saying no and supporting the 500 copies. I'd like to hear what other people think.
It's Councillor Linda Piper here. I think the book is a good idea. I think we should support it.
Yes, but
Councillor Young, speak.
for how many copies?
2,000 copies, I'd suggest, Chair. That's Councillor Reshevsky.
Councillor Rizeki is proposing 2,000 copies. That's £2,692.
Correct.
Councillor Wing here, I'd like to support it too. When you've got people contributing and giving their time for free, which is probably the biggest part of the spend, to get professionals to contribute, then I think the least we can do is cover the printing costs for 2,000 copies.
So there's a proposer from Councillor Rizeki for £2,692, seconded by Councillor
Young.
Seconded, Councillor Wing.
I can second it, whatever. I'm quite happy to second that.
Okay. Any members against that particular proposition?
Yes, Chair.
Anybody else? That's passed. £2,692. Deputy Town Clerk, the next request.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. RF2 is from St Lawrence in Thanet team, so that's the St Lawrence Parish Church. They're requesting £1,000. The total projected expenditure is 17,000. Their accounts are actually showing that they have funding set aside as well for 14,439 towards the replacement of the boiler for the church. Thank you, members.
Can't we give them a bit more?
Members?
See that?
I don't know if we can fund the church's charity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Members?
Yeah, I'd like to support that and approve at least 1,000.
Okay, Councillor Rizeki is proposing the full request of £1,000.
I'll second that, Chair.
I second it from the chair. Debate, members?
Councillor Wing here, totally support. I think that church is, it's a Ramsgate iconic church. It should be funded.
No, you can only give more than that one.
Okay.
Is anybody opposed? Somebody got a printer on or something?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Councillor Piper, your microphone is on.
Sorry, yep.
I'm being invited to unmute it, so it's telling me it's muted.
Right. So there's a proposition for £1,000 been proposed and seconded. Any objections? That's passed. Deputy Town Clerk, the next one.
Thank you, Chairman. This is an application from RS3 from the Miss Ramsgate organisation, which, as we all know, is the Ramsgate Court. Their projected expenditure is 3,500 and the grant requested is 2,500. This application is for funding towards the purchase of outfits for the court, all the accessories, shoes, handbags, everything that they need for them to go and do their work promoting the town. And it was also towards decorating the carnival float. The carnival's not happening, so due to COVID-19, so that reduces it. Within the application, the applicant states £2,004.95 for the purchase of items of clothing and the related accessories. I can advise you that the applicants do spend their own money, and they have done so far. And obviously COVID has put a halt to this. They do advise me that the court will carry on into next year, so the girls will get their full reign, if you want to call it that. Thank you. They're asking for 2,500.
Members.
Councillor Ara, I would like to propose the full amount, please.
Well, I've got to be honest, and whilst I support this organisation, it's extremely popular in Ramsgate and very popular with other events. I thought all the other events and all the other carnivals have been cancelled. So what are they doing? Where are they going? I mean, where are they going with the float? Do we know?
No, Chairman. All I do know is that the girls were selected, and Mrs. Pearce and her husband have spent money on kitting them out. Obviously, they're not going anywhere, but they will be at the moment. They are going to start helping the technicians, by the way. They're going to start litter picking and things like that. That's in the offing. Just to get the girls busy and doing something. Obviously, that doesn't relate to what has been purchased for them. And they are going to carry on into the next year, so they'll get a full year of being the court. That's all I know. Sorry.
Members, your views.
Could I ask a question, Chair?
Councillor Green.
Is £700 a head a reasonable amount spent on a dress?
Well, presumably they're buying a few items.
I don't think, Councillor Ara, I don't think it's only for the dress, Councillor Green. It's, everything, shoes, bags and everything, tiara and everything, including everything.
Members, it's for 5 girls. It's for 4 or 5 girls. Yes, it's 5 girls in total. So it's 5-day dresses. It's petticoats for the dresses. It's black jackets and skirts, blouses, day jewellery, queen's dress, which is a bridal type of dress. The princess's dress, again, their dresses are their evening or bridal type of dresses, which obviously are more expensive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, he's got it. It's been proposed by Councillor Ara that they receive the £2,500. I second it. Is there any opposition?
Well, can I just say, I'm the principal of a Miss Ramsgate. I'm not over keen on, to be perfectly honest, but I appreciate that they do an awful lot of good work and they've got to be suitably clothed. So
are you for or against?
Oh, for them being suitably clothed, Peter, yes.
Okay, you're for the request. Okay, anybody against? Silence is golden. That's accepted. Passed. Next one.
Thank you, Chairman. The next and final Ramsgate Fund application is from the Ramsgate and Broadstairs Sea Cadets, a very simple project for £454.62. That's the costing from their preferred supplier. The application is for funding towards the purchase of 35 new chairs plus 3 tables for the unit headquarters in the Sailors' Church. These are required to replace the old second-hand chairs which are damaged, discoloured and not fit for purpose. Thank you.
Excellent organisation. I propose the full £454.62. Is there a seconder?
Yeah.
Seconded all over the place. Anybody in opposition?
Councillor Rashevsky will second it.
Councillor Rashevsky will second it. Any opposition? That's passed. Thank you very much, Deputy Town Clerk. That closes the event funding.
Thank you, Chairman.
Agenda item 10, Town Clerk's report. Town Clerk.
Chairman, you've missed an item.
Have I?
You have indeed. Events Fund update.
Events Fund update.
From me.
Go on then.
All right.
Oh, Events Fund. Sorry, that was the Ramsgate Fund. Sorry, yeah, the Events Fund update. Sorry, that's my fault.
That's fine. That's okay. Okay, thank you, Chairman. Yes, Dean has got that up there for you. Basically, what I've done here is, due to COVID-19, again, we've had event after event after event cancelled. The starting balance for the Events Fund was 72,500. We've got 15,000 set aside for the Royal Harbour 200, which left, when events were looked at previously, a balance of 67,500. The allocations are all detailed below. So at the moment, I've still got Christmas lights switch on. I've still got New Year's Eve fireworks and the Miss Ramsgate Carnival dance and court events we need to look at, unfortunately. Moving on, we've had, they've been cancelled. The International Day of Light, EF6, will happen at some point in the future, so I've left that in there. going down and down and down. EF10, Ramsgate International Film and TV Festival, that did take place virtually. Their funding was released. Apparently that was very successful and did take place 11th to 14th of June. Going further down to EF13, Ramsgate Festival of Sound, a Sonic Odyssey. That report is incorrect. They're now doing a virtual format. So the funding has been released, and this will happen 6th to the 13th of September instead as a virtual thing. I've got no information on the Open Lawns Bowls competition so far. Lark in the Park, the EF16, they've got a new format for the event planned, and I'm awaiting information on that. The Ramsgate Summer programme, which was going to be each Sunday in August, there's a new format for the event is planned, and I'm awaiting information there. Moving further down, they're just cancelled all the way through. Addington Street Revival Fair, Councillor Wing, did you want to update on that one?
We know the fair is vitally important, particularly for businesses and the community. So we fully intend to not cancel it, but move it to May. So next year, the 2020 will be on in May, and then we will move. We will have a second fair in September. We really do want to make sure we try and get to next year to support the businesses actually that have been hit really hard.
Thank you, Councillor. That award of £1,000 is still sitting in the pot. I haven't cancelled that at all, so we'll leave that sitting there. Taking all of this into account, the balance of the fund remaining is 41,000. Within that, you did decide to set aside 5,500 towards the COVID-19 effort of the council. That is not going to be needed now. The technicians have now pulled back and are not doing any food runs at all at the moment. So, moving on, Dean, can you show me Active Ramsgate, please? Thank you. Councillor Green will know probably more than I do about this. Active Ramsgate were heavily involved with the Kite Surfing Championship, which you kindly donated £10,000 to from the events fund. That has been cancelled due to COVID because the beach will be packed. They're already packing people in, and they don't think it will be safe to hold it, so that's pulled. What Active Ramsgate people are saying is they would like to ask for the £10,000 to be reallocated to the restarting of Active Ramsgate post-lockdown campaign. This is for a new website to push out to people and encourage them to have staycations and come to Ramsgate. So the funding requirement is for contracting with a copywriter and web designer, and also for contracting of a photo shoot by a photographer experienced in photographing people doing outdoor activities, and also to contract Sleeping Giant or similar, that's a company, online marketing firm to manage a Facebook pay-per-click campaign for Active Ramsgate and to advise on our in-house social media strategy. That's a brief resume of it, but I believe, Councillor Green, you probably may be able to enlighten members a little bit more if you wish. But they are asking for the £10,000 to be reallocated. Thank you.
Chair.
Councillor Green.
Yeah, you've had a detailed proposal put before you in writing, which I think regenerating the Active Ramsgate campaign, which has been very successful to date, but is beginning to look a little bit tired. I'm not suggesting that you hand over the money without strings. What I'm suggesting is that you give the Active Ramsgate team the go-ahead to pursue this, and then come back with definite proposals once they've got a bit more detail around who's involved, who they're proposing to employ, and what you would get for the money.
Okay. So I propose that we ring fence £10,000 that was going to be spent on the kite surfing for this particular proposal, for the active Ramsgate subcommittee team. It's our team to come back to us with proposals as to whom they're going to employ, what the purpose will be, what the proposed outcome will be, and what the benefits will be to Ramsgate Town itself. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
Yeah, I second it. Jane Hetherington.
Jane Hetherington seconds it. Debate, members.
Councillor Wing, fully support. I think it's a great idea. We've had lots more people out on the cliff top cycling. I've never seen so much lycra on our cliff top. So we've got to try and harness that and make it permanent for future years. Yeah, we've got to relaunch, and I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, okay. Say a bit more there too, Peter, as well. I mean, local people locally that are doing Airbnbs are completely booked out for August to September. So, you know, we really need to be doing something to get sort of businesses and everything else regenerated. It's really important.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Evering. Anybody else?
Councillor Young.
Councillor Young.
I'd like to see a bit more signage around for people to be aware of where they're going and what speed to do when they're on bikes, and some sort of plan from getting from Ramsgate to Pegwell. The directions, you know, a cycle route, that sort of thing.
Okay, Councillor Young. Maybe that could be included. Councillor Green might take that on board. Any other members wish to speak?
Will do, Chair.
Thank you. Oh, any other members wish to speak? Anybody opposed to my proposition that has been seconded by Councillor Hetherington? That's a ring fence £10,000 for Councillor Green to come back with more detailed proposals. Thank you. We move on to the next agenda item.
Chairman, sorry. As agreed with yourself, we have an application to consider under the Events Fund. Yeah, you agreed that I could bring it. This is a half-term event. Sorry. The applicant, Dean has got it up on the screen for you. I did send it out to all members. The applicant is Black Cat Events in association with Backfill, which is a movement designed to use the arts to encourage visitors back to the seaside out of season in order to support the local economy. In a nutshell, the event will take place between the 17th and 25th of October half term. They're asking for £4,950. It's an art trail which will be paintings and art on hoardings, derelict buildings, pavements and buildings.
Oh, no.
This is their proposal with permission sought. Dean, could you go down to the images for me, please? They're looking at 5 large-scale and 14 small-scale arts installations on derelict buildings, etc. And also online recorded interviews with the artists about their work. They'll advertise and call on all artists to apply, including amateurs and groups. And they'll do a second round with pieces in shop windows on the high street. All social distancing to be adhered to, so people will walk around and look at the art. They're looking for other funding apart from ours, but they are quoting £4,950 at the moment as the cost. Thank you, members.
Members, your views, please.
Can I speak? Councillor Young?
Councillor Young.
I see they're asking for £200 per shop, 3 shops to show art in. Surely we could ask local shops to show art without paying £200. It just seems like a lot of money to me.
Well, these are empty shops, Councillor Young.
Yes, but why would you pay £200 for an empty shop? Wouldn't it be free?
Probably not. Members.
Chair.
Councillor Green.
I'm really torn by this one, Chair, because I think it's a great idea. Would be really good for businesses in in the town would have to attract footfall. But I think this is a company that's asking for the money.
Yeah.
And we don't normally give Ramsgate Fund grants to companies.
Correct.
We would normally take the idea and tender for a company to do it for us. So I'd like some guidance from the town clerk, please.
Really? Town clerk?
Yes, I don't know very much about this at all. So yes, I think it would be better if the council wants to carry out this event, then it should be under a contract that we control, because rather than just giving them money to do it, if it was an arts group in the normal way of thing, which is what the events fund's normally up for doing, then obviously the different rules apply. This is obviously a I don't know, is it a CIC, a not-for-profit company, or what? I have no idea who they are, so I can't really see, I can't necessarily make a judgment for you about that. But I think I agree with Councillor Green that it actually, if you do want to do it, then it should be under a contract, and we know what we're paying for and what we're going to get out of it. Rather like in the same way that somebody would be providing fireworks or a light show or something.
Well, I think it's rather dubious. They're going to get permission from TDC to paint on their buildings, that's for sure. And I don't like the idea of them painting on pavements, that's for sure. I'm opposed to this particular offer, and will vote against it. If anyone proposes, there's no proposition to actually give them any money. Does anyone want to donate money to this project?
No.
No, it's Councillor Linda Piper here. I don't think we should donate anything to it at all.
Does anybody want to? Is anyone going to propose this particular offer? No, it falls. Thank you very much. That falls, Deputy Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. Nothing more from me, thank you.
Okay, we go on to agenda item 10. Town Clerk's report. Town Clerk.
I don't really have anything to report except that I did.
Okay, thank you, Town Clerk.
Sorry. I did promise to report at the last meeting that I would give a view on the lawfulness of the powers we would use to pay for the if it happens, the pay the money towards the judicial review, and also about sections 85 and 86 for the Courts and Criminal Justice Act 2015. I have written a memorandum of it. I would suggest that I send this all to you today, tomorrow, and that you read it and then you come back to me with any thoughts. I think there have been some things said that actually I found not to be quite true, simply because it takes an understanding of the law and how it works. I am prepared to make a brief run through if you want, but I would suggest it would be easier if you read it at your leisure and come back to me with any thoughts that you have on it.
Can I just say that statements that were made probably weren't untrue, they were probably just not accurate, is a better way of putting it. If you're saying they're not accurate rather than untrue.
Yes, that might be better. Say in error, shall we say? In error.
Councillor Piper.
Chair.
Councillor Green.
Chair, I understand why the town clerk is suggesting what he's suggesting, but I think taking the memorandum offline would not be well received by the public when we're able here to hear what he's got to say and make a decision.
Okay, well, put it out then. How long is it?
I won't read it out, but what I can do is give you a brief resume. I mean, the first thing was that Councillor Rizzetti said, what powers do we have to actually make this contribution to the judicial review, and there are several powers that we can use. Firstly, the main one, which is section 137, which is limited to £8.32 per elector. But as we have 31,805 electors, that works out over £250,000. So that would be the main power we could use. We also have the power to carry out functions that require our that are necessary to the functioning of the council. That's section 111 of the Local Government Act 1972. And we also have the power to prosecute and defend. That's section 222 of the Local Government Act and 1972. So they are the powers that we have to do what we've said we can do. I have written the memorandum, which has been looked at by Calc, and they don't endorse it, and I haven't asked them to, but my findings have been accepted by them as being lawfully accurate. Then we next come to the bit about section 85 and section 86 of the Courts and Criminal Justice Act 2015. That was done by our friend Mr. Grayling, who happened to be Transport Minister when Manston first started. Sections 85 and 86, if you go onto some of these crowdfunding sites, what they do is up comes a thing that says, well, if you pay over a certain figure, that you may be liable for defence costs, afterwards. The problem with that is actually those powers haven't been put into effect, so the courts will not ask a defendant to do so. There is no £3,000. That was part of a consultation that was done a year after the statute was passed by Parliament, and there are some difficulties with it anyway, because the Ministry of Justice couldn't really justify why it was necessary in the first place, and I think that's why after 5 years it still hasn't been put into effect. So that there is no fund, there is no £3,000. That was a consultation suggestion. There is no powers for the courts to ask a contributor to a crowdfunding effort in a judicial review, and therefore the council can do it and not be required in any way to pay for defence costs. The other thing is that in environmental judicial reviews, which is this one would be, it's likely that the defence costs would be limited to £5,000 anyway. That may change in future. Yes, I know I can see somebody disagree, but that's actually in the information I have. Now, what I have done, I haven't been able to get NOUT to come back to me in time. We are a direct council. We can ask the National Association of Local Councils to give a thing. They are coming off. They have taken away and they've handed it to a solicitor to come back to me. I don't think they're going to come back with anything different. If they do, I will let you know. But I will let you have the memorandum tomorrow, and you're free to publish it if you want.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Members?
Yes, please, Chair. Councillor Piper.
Councillor Piper.
The information about the £3,000 was given to me by a lawyer. So we're clearly in the territory of one person's interpretation of the law versus another one. The same legal team provided me with further evidence that, in fact, the limit of £5,000 for costs and so on that the Town Clerk is referring to was superseded in 2019, and the judges have the right to make awards as they see fit. It could be less than that or it could be more than that, but it has changed within the last 12 months. So I think my point about the 3,000 was it changes the status of the donor. The donor is no longer an unidentified donor. The donor becomes a backer if you go over £3,000, and the backers do have to be identified to the court. This, I can say legal advice to the Town Clerk if he wishes, but I have been provided this information from a team of lawyers.
Chair.
Thank you.
Chair.
Green.
Chair, this council made a decision at its last meeting, subject to the town clerk coming back with reasons for not to carry out that decision. I appreciate Councillor Piper's opinion, but I don't think it alters the fact that this council has made a decision subject to what the clerk has told us. So I suggest that we should go ahead and implement the decision. I so move.
Okay.
Councillor Nixie, can I speak, please?
Councillor Nixie.
Hello. So as a councillor, I contacted Jenny Dawes about the judicial review and if anybody gave large donations, what would happen. Only today she has put an update, this is Jenny Dawes, from the from Harrison Grant, from the legal team. So the update is their comment, which says only the claimant is liable for any costs, so no other person. And one of the reasons I did this too, there was a large donor to the judicial review who is in my ward, and I inquired for that person as well, who contacted me privately, and although that person will be named within the judicial review, so right in the courts, he isn't liable either. So I checked that out for him. The only person, as the Harrison Grant says, is the applicant.
Okay. Any other member wish to speak?
Chair, could we just have some clarity, please? I did write to the town clerk, but haven't received a reply. My understanding was that the council resolved, i.e. decided, to send £5,000 and then up to £10,000 if there was a shortfall. There seemed in the public to be some uncertainty about whether that is a definite 5 plus 5 more if needed, or a definite 5 plus 10 more if needed. And the other thing was, after the vote had been taken, the town clerk announced that it was an in-principle decision. That was not my understanding. My understanding was it was a resolution to pay the 5,000. And the only thing you asked the town clerk to do was to go back and check on my comments about the £3,000. So could we have clarity on what has definitely been promised and what might be paid if there is a shortfall, please? Thank you.
Yes, I would answer that. It is a definite £5,000 and up to a further £5,000, up to a further £5,000 if there is a shortfall in the funding. That's exactly the money. So in essence, a total possible of £10,000 and no more. Okay. Thank you, Town Clerk. We move on. Have you anything else to report on your Town Clerk's report, Town Clerk?
No, Chairman.
Right, we go on to the last agenda item 11, Council meeting schedule. To be noted. Noted from the Chair. Anybody else? Any comments on it? No? Okay, thank you very much. This meeting is now finished at 2024. Thank you, members, for your indulgence of a very, very lacklustre chairing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.